Good morning. We are so privileged to welcome you to this, the 159th commencement of Boston College High School. I'm Allison MacDonald. I'm the Vice Principal of Teaching and Learning, and it's my privilege to be alongside each and every one of our graduates today. We'll begin our program with the national anthem sung by the concert choir directed by Dr. Marina Rosenberg. At the conclusion, please remain standing for the invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I now invite Reverend Donald McMillan, S.J., class of 1960, the BC High Alumni Chaplain, to lead us in prayer.
Good and gracious God, guide and watch over these seniors who have meant so much to Boston College High School over these past few years. Give them courage to bravely move on to the next chapter of their lives. Let them embody the best of BC High's intellectual and spiritual traditions in all that they say and all that they do. Let them walk in the assurance that you are always at their side with love beyond all telling. Fire them up to act justly in your holy name. Guide them as they build a new community, not just a community, but a just community. Inspire them to love you with all their minds, with all their hearts, and with all their strength. And with your help, let these seniors soar high with honor, with dignity, and with majesty, as only eagles can. We pray this blessing in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Please be seated. It is my pleasure to introduce our welcoming speaker, Ishmael Hazelwood, to you this morning. In our inaugural year of the House system, Ish has been an outstanding captain for Gonzaga House. He leads with strength and humility, unafraid to talk to students about representing the House and our school with dignity and respect. He brings maturity well beyond his years, a young man who sits next to the student at Mass who he knows may need a little redirection, and someone who quietly checks in on a freshman who he senses might feel a little off that day. Anyone who knows Ish well thinks immediately of his kindness and empathy. He brings compassion and care to our community that is felt by the people around him. It is not an option for Ish to leave the world the way he finds it. He makes each place better and has shown that in ways that he values. Ask him about his work educating the Black community in Boston about the benefits of safe cycling in Mattapan on wheels, or how he traveled to the southern states with the Sojourn Project to learn about the civil rights movement, or how he planned house meetings to lead our community in difficult conversations about race. The faculty of BC High recognize the incredible impact that Ishmael has had here and voted for him to welcome you all today. We will miss Ish tremendously when he leaves us, but we are confident that he will bring his particular goodness, quiet strength, and wealth of talent to make an enormous impact at the Eisenberg School at UMass Amherst next year. Please join me in a round of applause for Ishmael Hazelwood.
Good morning. My name is Ishmael Dolphy Hazelwood, and I would like to welcome family, friends, faculty, President Reagan, Principal Lewis, Vice Principal Ms. McDonald, and most importantly, the class of 2023. If I were to use one word to describe the class of 2023, I would use the word resilient. Not only was our freshman year cut short, which seemed like a lifetime ago in March of 2020, but then we had to adjust to a never-before-seen world of virtual learning. Our worlds became so much smaller, and our once inseparable bonds we had with not only our good friends, but with our teachers became almost impossible to maintain. But we remained strong and continued to preserve those relationships. Following our freshman year, we had to continue to learn virtually or in person with the fraction of the class size it was. That same year, there was a sudden shift in the daily schedule with the implementation of the long block classes. On top of learning a new schedule, we had to develop new sanitation practices in order to keep our community healthy while testing and learning in unorthodox methods. Our junior year still bore the scars of the pandemic with the mask mandate requirement early on in the year. However, there was a sense of hope, as if you can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. Our senior year felt as though we could finally have normalcy, have that normal high school experience. We didn't have to worry about socially distancing from others, learning through Zoom, or having masks tucked at the back of our ears. It felt like the fall of 2022 was the time for us to have a proper BCI experience. However, little did we know that our class would become the pivotal leaders for a never-before-seen system our senior year. One of the most remarkable things we accomplished as a class was adopting the house system. We understood that becoming the spearhead for the house system would not only strengthen our camaraderie within the community, but also the young men that will travel to Morrissey Boulevard for years to come. When the house system was first proposed to the class of 2023, many of my peers, including myself, were skeptical. We thought that this was another contributing factor that would not allow us to have a normal high school year. It'd be another thing we had to adjust to. That thing truly solidified why our class is so special. The house system allowed every single one of us to become a mentor, a leader for our younger brothers, and to help both inspire and guide them to better themselves and their community. You may not realize this, but I just described to you what the Ghanaian Adinkra symbol, Duen Men, or in literal translation, ram's horn, represents, which is strength and humility in the mind, body, and soul. Through all these trials and tribulations, through the countless nights of studying and preparation for exams, through constantly adjusting and adapting to a global pandemic, life's hardships, in a completely new system, for the many remarkable athletic battles that occurred on Carter Field or in Monin Park, every single one of my peers demonstrated strength and humility. You all have demonstrated UN men. This is a time to celebrate all of our accomplishments and to remember both persevering and graduating from BCI is an accomplishment in itself. Of course, we could not have overcome these challenges without the love and support from our families and friends that have gathered with us here today. It takes a village to raise a child, and you all have done that with your sons with such elegance and grace. I could never be more proud and humbled to be a part of one of BCI's most resilient and strongest graduating classes. And I'm blessed to have the privilege and honor of introducing the class of 2023 to you all and welcoming you to this graduation. I would like to conclude the speech by speaking for the class of 2023 by saying all these relationships we have cultivated throughout our years together at BCI have been unforgettable. I hope all of the members of the class of 2023 realize that all these experiences we have been through together, good or bad, helps better unify us and is the epitome of why the Boston College High School Brotherhood lasts a lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you, Ish. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Grace Cotter Regan, President of Boston College High School.
Good morning, and thank you, Ish. That was amazing. To our parents, guardians, families, friends, faculty, and staff, welcome. In a special way, I would also like to thank and welcome our commencement speaker, Reverend Mario Powell, Society of Jesus, President of Brooklyn Jesuit Prep, for being with us today. We feel blessed to have you on these hallowed grounds of BC High. It is an honor to be with you to celebrate this special class of 2023. Welcome, Father Powell. We are also fortunate to have alumni from the class of 1973 here today as part of their 50th reunion celebration, a time-honored tradition that welcomes the newest graduates to the Brotherhood of BC High. I spent some time this weekend reading the 1973 yearbook entitled Renaissance, and it had a powerful impact on me. As you may know, Renaissance is a French word meaning rebirth. It refers to a period in European civilization that was marked by a revival of classical learning and wisdom. I would like to say that BC High is in a Renaissance period where we are looking at how we teach and learn with a new lens. One of the quotes from the 1973 yearbook affirms our steadfast commitment to being a Jesuit Catholic school for young men. The passage reads, BC High's mission is to create Christian leaders, men who are so imbued with the knowledge of Christ and so concerned with the community of which they are a part of, that they will respond courageously to the challenges of the time because they want to help and serve others. This remains the very essence of formation at BC High. At this time, I'd like to ask the members of the class of 1973 who are with us today to please stand and be recognized for your fidelity to BC High and your milestone reunion. Gentlemen. Thank you. The Golden Jubilarians remind us of the importance of the Alumni Global Network of 15,000 strong, and the contributions of those giants who walk with these men in our halls. It is now my honor to invite Charlie Flint to receive his Golden Jubilarian diploma on behalf of the classmates. Charlie has been one of the most loyal and committed reunion chairs in history, always one to put himself out there on behalf of the great class of 1973. Charlie handles each interaction with thoughtfulness and consideration. Boys, welcome Mr. Flint to the stage. We had you from last night, so thank you. That's great. All right. That's great. Gentlemen, how about a standing ovation for the class of 73? Thank you. As I think about the class of 2023 and the Golden Jubilarians, I'm reminded of the foresight of Father Peter Hans Kolvenbach, the 29th Superior General of the Society of Jesus, as he delivered a speech at Santa Clara University Conference in 2000, nestled in Silicon Valley. Father Kolvenbach recognized the tension between the mission and the microchip. He saw that as the United States, our global community, and our Jesuit schools experienced the fruits of an ever greater technological advancement, we would face a struggle of conscience. He knew that progress for its own sake is no progress at all. Class of 2023 and the Golden Jubilarians, though 50 years separate you as alumni, your Jesuit formation provides you with the foundation from which to navigate struggles of conscience. You, class of 2023, you have grown up as native citizens of the complex and incredible and sometimes frightening digital world. You have seen the best of what technology can do and the worst. And you, class of 1973, were here on Morrissey Boulevard when a man landed on the moon. And now we watch as rockets launch regularly with average citizens on board. You have all seen how social media can unite relatives and friends across the globe. You've seen how video conferencing can keep the world running, even in the face of an unprecedented public health challenge. But you've also seen how this interconnectivity can divide and radicalize. You've seen how our global economic system can raise the quality of life for millions while ignoring the basic needs of billions. You've seen how instant communication can expose us to causes and crises we may never have seen, and offer us the opportunity to help. But you've also seen that access to all of this information can desensitize or make us feel helpless in the face of such enormous challenges. Class of 2023 and Golden Jubilarians, you are formed in an Ignatian tradition whose heads, hearts, and hands have been forged with competence, conscience, and compassion. You are leaders who not only know the how, but the why. Leaders who constantly reflect on not just whether innovation is possible, but where innovation is needed and who it will serve. Class of 2023, for a large portion of your life, this campus has been your home and community. Your family, I pray that you will always know that these connections do not end today. The unbreakable bonds of brotherhood with your classmates and bonds of love and respect you share with everyone gathered here will truly last a lifetime. In class of 1973, I'm sure 50 years have gone by in a blink of an eye. I ask you to keep this class of 2023, now your brothers, or maybe sons and nephews in the house, in your prayers as they enter the world with the same optimism and hope that you had in 1973. Once again, please join me in congratulating the class of 1973 and the class of 2023. Now it is my great pleasure to welcome our commencement speaker, Reverend Mario Powell from the Society of Jesus, president of Brooklyn Jesuit Prep in Brooklyn, New York. BJP is a special school that works to break the cycle of poverty through faith-based education. Its students and families have a unique and deep connection to their school, and Father Powell has been at the heart of that connectivity. Raised on the West Coast, Father Powell is a graduate of Loyola High School in Los Angeles, California. Continuing his Jesuit formation, he went on to Boston College and St. Louis University, where he deepened his commitment to Ignatian spirituality and found his passion for education. Father Powell was tapped to run the prestigious REACH program at Regis High School in New York City, an educational and leadership program that prepares students from marginalized communities to succeed at Regis and other private schools in the New York area. Father Powell's expertise, wisdom, and demeanor is often sought out as he currently serves as a board member at numerous Jesuit schools around the country, including a former role on our Board of Trustees here at BC High, for which we will be grateful forever. This past winter, Father Powell was announced the next PACE representative, which is the Provincial Assistant for Secondary and Pre-Secondary Education, which is a role that will serve him well, given his remarkable ability to bring people together to ensure the best formation, a Jesuit formation, is possible. The PACE representative is responsible for meeting with and guiding Jesuit schools in the USA East Province. It's a very big role, but we know he's up for it. Please join in welcoming our friend and colleague, Father Mario Powell, as our commencement speaker.
There I was, sitting on the 2 train at Brooklyn College at the end of the school day. I normally don't leave at 4:30 to avoid the students, but that day I did. I fast walked from school to catch the train before the kids got on board. When they saw me, they walked faster. Some ran and others shouted after me. I was caught. I would have to endure the 10-minute ride with them. They are so awkward in public. I'm sure they would say the same of me. One time, a 7th grader stood in front of me in the train and recited the Hail Mary numerous times at the top of his voice, while other passengers stared in confusion. At other times, I've been peppered with observations and questions such as, "I didn't know priests ride the train. Are you sure you know where you're going?" I assured them that it was yes on both fronts. On this particular day, I sat down next to one of my teachers, and a kid sat to my left. Elijah, or so I thought, a tiny 6th grade black boy with a huge grin on his face. The grin grows wider in relation to how much trouble he is in. His hair is braided and it falls halfway down his back, and without turning my head towards him, I extended my fist and gave him a fist bump, which he reciprocated. Father Powell, you know that isn't one of our students, right? I responded to this faculty member. I said, "Of course it is. It's Elijah. Look at him." So now I was a little embarrassed that there was a possibility that I had greeted some random stranger on the train. I turned slightly to the left and my eyes tried to examine who this young man was for any sign that he in fact went to my school. But I had remembered that it was a dress down day and all of the kids were wearing hoodies, including this young man. And so my first examination was inconclusive at best. This teacher continued, "That's not him. It looks like him, but it's definitely not him." So now I am somewhat indignant at this poor teenage boy, and I responded, "Why did he extend his hand back to me then?" The teacher, looking at me somewhat amused, said, "What would you do if you got onto the subway and a priest extended his hand out to you?" She, of course, was right. The next day, school began normally. An unusual number of students came up to me and said good morning while they grinned at me. I was seemingly not in on whatever was supposed to transpire. "Yo, Father," the actual Elijah said. "Yo, Father, what's my name?" Again, the grin very wide. I blankly stared at him. I couldn't remember. This attracted a crowd of 6th and 7th grade boys, and my students roundly mocked me. I was able to quiet them with a stare, and in the midst of the silent spectacle was a lone, brave voice. "You know, Father, not all black people look alike." Devastating. It was suggested that I take the yearbook home and study their names and pictures. President Reagan, Principal Lewis, esteemed faculty, beloved families and friends and guests, and of course, the class of 2023, it is an honor to be here with you to help celebrate the last 4 years. Our names are an incredibly important part of our identity. Your names will be read soon, each and every one of them. They carry deep personal, cultural, familial, and historical connections. They also give us a sense of who we are, the communities in which we belong, and our place in the world. If words and names act as labels and can change how people think and perceive them, it is important that we get to know not only the names of people, but we get to know their stories as well. Elijah lives in East Flatbush. When most New Yorkers hear that name, they think of crime, drugs, trash, gangs, and poor education. Labeling empowers, but it also disempowers. You are better off putting down that you are from Brooklyn than East Flatbush. For Elijah, East Flatbush connotes just two things. East Flatbush is home, and it's where his school is located, Brooklyn Jesuit Prep. When we learn someone's name, we begin to learn their story. What would it mean for us to speak in the name of Elijah, this poor little black boy from East Flatbush? When I was a student at Loyola High School, my classmates and I were constantly bombarded with a three-word question that most of us spend our entire lives attempting to answer, even if we don't realize it. That question is, who are you? What comes to mind when you hear these three words? How do you answer that question? It's a question that cuts to the core of all of our identity. It reveals what you believe about yourself, it reveals what you value, and it reveals what is significant to you. Some of us answer it with our vocation or job title. Some first questions we ask people whom we are unfamiliar with is, what do you do? Where do you work? As if that cuts to the core of our identity. Sometimes we tie our identity to our behavior or our successes, our accomplishments, or even a sense of shame or sinful past. I'm an addict or I'm a leader are both identity statements. When we let our successes or sins identify us or define us, it can become difficult to embrace the identity that God has for us. While naming can sometimes be tied to authority in the scriptures, it also reveals a certain intimacy. Naming happens in the context of relationships. In Genesis chapter 16, when Hagar was wandering in the wilderness and near death, she gave a name to God when he rescued her. She called him the one who sees me. When I was an undergraduate at Boston College, I went on a service trip to Nicaragua. Unfortunately, Nicaragua was then, as it still is now, one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. Sexual violence, lack of employment, malnutrition, religious intolerance were problems then and still remain. We were not there to build anything, but we were there to listen. We were there to see. One woman told us about how she had formed a t-shirt company with her neighbors. She then told the story of how they were taken advantage of, threatened, and became victims of men who did not, could not, and would not see women as their equal, earning money outside of the home. I remember I stood up and asked in my most earnest Spanish that I could muster, ¿Cómo puedo ayudar? How can I help? She looked at me and I felt so small. And she said to me, Vete a casa, go home. I was confused and wanted to know how I could have possibly offended this woman. But she continued, go home, go back to your school. Every time you take an exam, every single time you want to skip class or sleep in, and every single time you want to go to a party instead of do schoolwork, I want you to think of me and think of my story. I want you to see me. Maria Luisa. That's her name. Maria was a short, brown-haired woman. The lines on her face tell her story, and her hands show that this woman worked. When I think of Maria Luisa, I think of poor women sending their children to the United States through Mexico. I think of hard-working migrants leaving everything behind for a chance at a future. When I think of Maria Luisa, my heart is stirred. She at once makes me guilty when I feel too comfortable and fires me up to go to work every day. My dear brothers of the class of 2023, who are the ones begging to be seen in our world? Last year, I buried my nephew. He was 13 years old. He was gunned down inside an apartment building in Tacoma, Washington. He was shot 16 times. His little body was riddled with bullets. I helped plan his funeral, and the funeral home director suggested we bring or purchase a hoodie or a hat because we were going to have a public viewing. I remember kneeling down at his body. I remember wanting to hold him and remember that this was my pietà moment. I think of my nephew every time I hear about a shooting in Brooklyn. I think of his mother. I think of his grandmother. I think of how I can work to make sure that no other mother or grandmother has to mourn another black boy like my nephew. Sometimes names haunt you. Sometimes the names of people scream out to be heard and remembered. As men astutely trained here in these hallowed grounds at this Jesuit high school, your teachers, coaches, chaplains, parents are asking you all to go out into the world and to remember the names of folks who so desperately need you, who need your talent, who need your passion, who need you to have your hearts moved. The measure of your success here at Boston College High School is the measure to which people who never got to come here, folks like Elijah, Maria Luisa, my nephew, the measure to which their lives are richer, fuller, and more genuinely human because you did go here. Go out into the world and give what you have learned in the classroom, on the court, on the field, in the chapel. Go and give that away to a world that so desperately needs you to do so. Your Boston College High School education has allowed you to meet this moment. It has enabled you to give this to others. And so I return to a question raised earlier. Who are you? How you answer that question will determine what brings you joy. How you answer that question will determine what are you good at. How you answer that question will determine what the world needs you to be. This is our life's work. It's your life's work. We are engaged in this process of making one another holy, by making one another more fully human, so that no work is foreign to us. There is no question to which we are afraid. There's no position which we are frightened of. There's no task which is too burdensome for the sake of attempting to allow our neighbors to live with the fullness of dignity. And so let's embark on this lifelong journey together, feeding the hungry, visiting the imprisoned, burying the dead, clothing the naked, caring for the sick, giving shelter to travelers, and offering drink to the thirsty, using our private enterprise for the good of society. My dear brothers of the Boston College High School class of 2023, the world awaits what you have to give away. Don't hold on to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Father Powell, for those powerful words. Class of 2023, we now turn our full attention to you. Everyone here today has a wish for you that I'd like to share so that you know how much you mean to those around you. We wish for you to feel loved and celebrated on this special day. We wish that you feel immense gratitude for the relationships in your life that bring you joy. Relationships with those in your school community, your family, your friends, and most importantly, your deepening connection to God. And finally, that you feel the goodness that is within you, exactly who you are, and that it is ready to be shared with the world. Because in this moment, you will go from being a senior to being a BC High graduate. You've earned it, and we're so proud of you. I will now call the roll of the class of 2023 for the conferral of diplomas. Scholars of the class of 2023, please follow the directions of the ushers to make your way to the stage. You'll proceed to the stage from the outside aisle, collect your diploma, pause for a photograph, and return to your seat down the center aisle. Everyone, please hold your applause until the end so that all the names may be heard. Samuel Martin Abbott. Yvonne Aguilar. Quentin Ignatius Akins. Osheen E. Allen. Thomas Patrick Joseph Atkinson. Donovan Walker Babka. James H. Balboni. Juan Manuel Barroso. Alpha Abdullah Berry. Nolan J. Bastis. Colin Donahue Benson. Liam Thomas Benson. John Elliott Bernatavich. Nicholas P. Bezarides. Patrick F. Blanc. Thomas Paul Blanchard. Benjamin Kevin Bliss. Julian Javier Bosques Carrasquillo. James Patrick Bracken. Alexander Robert Bradford. Christopher Stephen Brandt. Javon Seth Brathwaite. John Philip Brindamore. Michael John Cairo. John Daniel Calcagno. Andrew Eve Joseph Calixt. Colin John Cannell. Matthew Francis Carbone. Nicholas Lars Carlson. James M. Carroll. Camden Michael Carter. Paxton Daniel Cash. Samuel Catano. Cooper Michael Chapman. Amin Charpu. Alexander Joseph Chiat. Kason Huang Chu. Denzel William Kofi. John W. Collins. Charles Daniel Como. Martin Joseph Connolly. Sean Patrick Coughlin. Matthew Conley Cox. Samuel Richard Kraft. Matthew Paul Cristoforo. Carlo Thomas Crocini. Brendan Patrick Crowley. John Aiden Curran. Bruno Quinta da Silveira. Connor Thomas Daly. Kevin Alexander Dasco. Jason Winthrop Deal. Joseph M. DiGiacomo. John T. Degnan. Jack Edward Dina. Alvaro A. Darris. Bryce Campbell Devine. Gavin Robert Donahue. Ronan Aloysius Donahue. Matthew James Draheim. Michael K. Duffy. Benjamin L. Edelman. Thomas R. Eldridge. Robert William Emzing III. Tyler James Engren. Lemuel Espinoza. Jameel William Evans. Jalen James Evans. Zachary Philip Ewing. Noah Daniel Falvey. Kevin Allen Fan. Lorcan John Farrell. Neelan Alves Fernandez. John Roger Ferrulo. Braden Quinn Finnegan. Benjamin William Flaherty. Ryan T. Flaherty. Michael William Fleming. Caton Francis. Andrew Walter Gagne. James M. Gibbons. Martin Shea Goldner. Connor Matthew Goodwin. Nolan A. Green. Connor Griffin. Tristan Guan. John Paul Charbel Haber. Alex G. Hanna. Damian Carl Harrison Jr. Sam J. Harder. Stuart Nathan Harvey. Ishmael Dolphy Hazelwood. Kazuki Michael Hedge. Andrew Miguel Isiano. Seamus Donald Higgins. Christopher Michael Jose. Matthew John Hurley. Nolan D. Hurley. John Dimitri Iktech. Noah L. Jacques. Alexander James Jordan. Jaron Josephs. Cormac Joyce. Ryan Joseph Kane. Paul John Carl Jr. John Aaron Casper. James Emmanuel Cates. Benjamin Lawton Keith. Rory S. Kennelly. Patrick Cairns. Paul D. Kim. Cameron Patrick King. Eobiel Kiros. Christian Serta Katujian. Tyler Suhu Kwong. Brendan Joseph Lamb. Ryan Michael Landolfi. Andrew T. Lane. Christopher James Larkin. Marvin Min Lee. Emmanuel Leonidou. Joseph J. Lewis. Connor O'Riordan Licklider. Hugh O'Riordan Licklider. Joseph Sullivan Locicero. William P. Locke. Mason Anthony Lombard. Grayton Paul Lovar. Charles Richard Lovren. Ethan Hare Liu. Matthew Joseph Lyden. Harrison Y. Lynch. Jacob William Lyons. Nicholas George McCool. Anthony Michael Malcolm. Andrew Walter Manning. Patrick James Maroney. Michael Douglas Marshall. Eamon Roger Martin. Nicholas A. McCabe. Hayes Richard McCarran. Patrick Michael McCarran. Graham McCarthy. Emmett P. McElhinney. Ryan Christopher McGuire. Matthew Brandon McHugh. Paul Nicholas McLaughlin. Matthew Christopher McLeod. Cody James McManus. Nathaniel Mark McMillan. Daniel Christopher Merchant. Maxwell James Milan. Gerard R. Miller III. William Alexander Maraki. William Christopher Mitten. Jackson T. Morse. Matthew Muniton. Charles Matthew Murphy. John Joseph Murphy. Connor Nee. Anthony Nguyen. Yepa B. Nielsen. Nicholas S. Noguera. Tyler Kane Oakley. Koji Obara. Matthew Luke O'Connell. James Patrick O'Connor III. Liam Hutchinson O'Driscoll. Michael E. O'Keefe. John Joseph Oliva. David Edward Osborne. Luke Joseph Lawrence O'Sullivan. Kush B. Patel. Lucky T. Patel. Nicholas K. Albino Pereira. Andrew James Petrillo. Joseph Thomas Piazzatelli. Jalen T. Pierre. Caden N. Pilgrim. Matthew Owen Politano. Jake Edward Pruitt. Ethan Maxwell Putman. John Christopher Pine. Paesong Kin. Tyler Joseph Rafino. Nicholas Ravello Casas. John A. Redman. Adam C. Regan. Brandon Reichert. Blake Carlo Reedy. Brodeur Joseph Rice. Ezra Hagob Richter. Connor M. Risby. Michael F. Robinson. William James Roach. Thomas Crosby Rogers. Bennett Anthony Mark Ronayne. Ethan J. Ross. Mark Royster. John Travis Ryan. Zachary Luke Ryan. Andrew Schiffman. Samuel Miles Schuwerk. Hugh Patrick Scott. Frank Emmanuel Shediak. Benjamin Simeone. Sean Skaritonov. Liam Porter Smith. Matthew Studley. John Sullivan. Thomas D. Sullivan. James A. Swanson. Anthony J. Ticini. Daniel Stephen Tarantino. Alexander C. Taylor. Andrew Francis Tedites. Nicholas Scott Ternulo. Rashard Jalen Thomas. Jonathan Thomas Tierney. Edmund Vincent Tirabassi. Andrew J. Toland. David Alexander Topi. Christian Dionisio Tapinio. Daniel George Toscano. Danny Tran. Enzo Jean Ballet. Quinton Bedlu Van Dam. Charles Michael Vazel. Lucas Patrick Venditti. Stefan Sava Vidanovic. Jaden Huang Vu. Johnny T. Vu. Jackson Matthew Waldner. Shizan Wong. Talon Jaden White. Hanja Yan. Jonathan Carter Ying Villanueva. Eamon Francis Young. Jingli Zhou. Nicholas Zebel. This is your class of 2023. Please be seated. I now invite Principal Adam Lewis to the stage.
Good morning, President Regan. On behalf of the trustees, Father Powell, colleagues, parents, families, guests, and most importantly, our men of BC High, the class of 2023. September 2019, we arrived at BC High together. A good chunk of you had already been here for 2 years and had the responsibility for helping us learn the BC High story from the inside out. It became a school story none of us could have possibly predicted. Both Father Krogan in his homily at the Baccalaureate Mass and Ish in his beautiful remarks this morning have spoken about a high school experience that a graduating class could never have imagined. As you leave us, please know that this is a story you have shaped and deepened. It is a story upon which you have left an indelible mark. COVID made you fight for dear life to develop and cultivate relationships with each other and with us in the most trying of circumstances. Yet here you sit, as a tight group who are collectively resilient and humble, a group who has led and stewarded us beautifully, a group who has walked with us and led us out of a pandemic. You have been extraordinary in what you have achieved inside and outside the classroom, outstanding results for the world to see. I recall visiting each of your ethics and social justice sections last year to share with you the concept of the house system. The reception was mixed. I was nervous, but I knew it would work. Not because of my faith in the system, but because of you. It would have only have worked with your leadership. Did it cross my mind that we should not put this on you in your senior year because you had already had a disrupted high school experience? Honestly, no. Not because I did not care for you. I do, deeply. Did it cross my mind that we should do it with this specific group of young men? Absolutely. Because you are special. I knew there was an intrinsic collective goodness and selflessness in this group. A conviction. You were chosen to lead intentionally, and you will be chosen and invited to lead throughout your life, formally and informally, in small moments and in big moments. I pray and hope that your BC High formation will play a significant factor in how you respond in these moments, with clarity of heart and a commitment to doing what is right and just, to do what Christ would do. You have seen the face of Christ in this school every single day, in this sacred space, in each other, most notably in the face of your teachers. I can tell you from experience, you do not get teachers like this everywhere. This is a special group. You will realise over time how blessed you have been to have had these people accompany you. I know you already feel it. They have challenged your minds and pushed you academically. Beyond that, they have moved your hearts and made you better men. They have known and loved you, so you have grown into men who are committed to truly knowing and loving others. To do this, keep up your habits of prayer and reflection, your rituals. Examine, and I mean examine in the way we talk about it, the movements of your heart daily. Have the courage to ask hard questions of your interior self. Let this be the starting point for how you live, how you lead, how you love, and we never separate those things. Your Jesuit formation and faith has called you to companionship with each other, with Ignatius, and above all invites response to the call of Jesus to be his disciples in our world. On behalf of our BC High faculty and staff, please know that we feel privileged to have been able to accompany you on your BC High journey. I pray that you will be gentle, beautiful men of depth and faith, and always see and feel God's presence in all that you do, in all that you are, and all that you will become. We will miss you, we love you, and we are so proud of you. Thank you. It is a pleasure to introduce our graduation speaker, Denzel Coffey. When one thinks of a model graduate from a Jesuit high school anywhere in the world, it would be hard-pressed to go past Denzel. He is selfless, loving, and deeply committed to doing what is right and just. It is just his way that is so special. Denzel is magnetic in his humility and has a unique way of drawing others into the sacred space that exists between people. He listens and is present in the most rare and precious way. He could not be more authentic. Denzel's head of house, Miss Wilson, shared the following about him. He has a reputation by all who know him, teachers, staff and students, of being the best. He models for everyone the characteristics of the graduate at graduation. No one is more game to being open to growth and trying new things and putting himself out there despite the risk of embarrassment or failure. But he doesn't fail because even if he falters, he picks himself back up, brushes off, and takes it as a learning experience, is open to sharing with others how he faltered because he is incredibly humble and wants others to learn from his mistakes. He's intellectually competent with his outstanding GPA and course load. But he knows it is not just what he does in the classroom that matters. He's developed a love of learning and attends speaker events, is a critical team leader on the robotics team, goes to Agape Latte, all in the desire to develop his curiosity and to learn from others. Denzel also seeks to deepen his spirituality through his commitment to exploring his relationship with God by attending and leading retreats. As a captain of Judge House, he models commitment to justice and being loving. He engages so thoughtfully in discussions about making our community more just and equitable through his participation in the captain's meetings and house meetings, and he pushes us all to take action. He puts everyone else before himself and is relentless in trying to make the house and school welcoming, inclusive, and compassionate. We are so appreciative of Denzel's leadership. It has made us better every day and will endure long after he has left. Our loss is Stanford University's gain. Please join me in welcoming Denzel Coffey.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Lewis, for that very generous introduction. I'm so incredibly honored to be here in front of you all today. Thank you also to President Reagan, Ms. McDonald, Father Powell, and all of the faculty, staff, administrators, alumni, and board members here today. Thank you to all of our guests gathered here today to celebrate your sons, grandsons, brothers, nephews, cousins, and friends. Thank you to the class of 2023, who've all worked so hard to make it to this day. I'll keep this brief, not just because I was asked to, but for fear that my nerves will eventually get the better of me the longer I'm up here. If you had told me 6 years ago, when I first arrived at Morrissey Boulevard as an Urupe student, that I'd eventually be standing in front of you all today as the graduation speaker, I would have said you're crazy. If you had told me at the start of freshman year, I still would have said there's no chance. In fact, if you had even told me last year that I'd be giving this talk, I still would have been hesitant. Those who know me well know that for a long time, I was someone who was very shy and reserved. I was someone who only spoke up when someone else talked first, or only talked when a teacher asked a question. So, you might be wondering, what changed? How did I become the person standing in front of you all today? The answer to that is a word that I think sums up the experiences of the class of 2023 over the past couple of years, and that's community. That word is something I've given a great deal of thought to as a house captain this past year, as we begun the task of making our school environment even more closely match our mission statement of forming men for and with others. Because what exactly is Boston College High School? It's not just a building, it's not just a campus, it's not just a school. It's a community, and the people that make up that community are what make this place so special. It's what everyone in this graduating class has in common, besides attending this school for the past couple of years. The connections we've all made through the school. I can't talk about the community of BC High without mentioning one of its most valuable resources, the teachers. Call it cliche, but it's true. The adults at this school have all found their calling to develop boys into men for and with others, the men sitting here today, looking quite fine in our graduation tuxedos, might I add. Whether in the classroom, on the fields, or in the hallways or commons before and after school, our teachers, counselors, and campus ministers have been there to guide us. And on behalf of the senior class, I can't thank you all enough. Today is a day that's all about the students, but it would be remiss of me not to thank our families, who made it possible for us to be here and kept us on track to get here today. As I see all of you sitting together with your families, I'm reminded of how, within our larger BCI community, there's even smaller communities, every last one unique, that have had a part in forming the people who make up our class. As this may be the last time all of us are gathered together in one place, to the class of 2023, I invite you all to do a bit more reflecting on your time here. A final examen, if you will. The examen, for those who may not be familiar with it, is a weekly spiritual exercise we have here that invites everyone in the building, regardless of their religious background, to pause and reflect. In the example of St. Ignatius, the founder of the Jesuit order, whose values and teachings BC High strives to impart to its students, we reflect on both ourselves and our interactions with others. So, to the class of 2023, I invite you all to center yourselves and think back to the first time you entered the building and everything that's happened since then. Think of time spent both inside and outside of the classroom. Think back to moments spent in community with each other, moments big and small. Think of all the times you gathered around your usual lunch spot with your friends. Every time you got to class a little early or left a little late and got to know a teacher or classmate better before the bell rang. Walking to class during passing periods and waving to friends. Hanging out in the cafeteria, the library, or the house offices before and after school. Time spent in the theater, in the robotics lab, on the field, on the ice, on the court, in the pool, on the track, in the classroom, on retreat, at the lunch table. Through all of these things, our time here was spent making connections that I hope are as meaningful to you all as they have been to me. Those connections and the people I've met have all made me the man I so proudly am. My teachers, my classmates, my friends, they're the people who saw more in me than I could see in myself and helped me to see what they saw. I like to think that we, the class of 2023, have all done the same for each other and helped each other grow into the people sitting here today. I'd like to conclude by echoing something I first heard while attending Kairos Retreat 103, and again when I was a leader on Kairos 105, that today is a unique moment. The past couple of years have been full of unique moments. As freshmen, we got to high school both eager and nervous. It's here that we began developing our strong sense of community, one that would welcome new students as the years went on without hesitation. We came together through moments in the classroom, lunch table conversations, clubs and sports, and semi-formal dances. As sophomores, we returned to Morrissey Boulevard, divided into cohorts at first, but then able to reunite towards the end of the year, now truly able to find our places in the school through extracurricular activities. As juniors, we showed out in full, determined to make up for lost time. We packed fan buses, theaters, and bleacher stands to support our classmates. We protested the dress code to no avail, losing our beloved hooded sweatshirts. We persevered through harder course loads, semester-long term papers, and the beginnings of the college process. As seniors, now the oldest students in the school, we became its student leaders, each in our own way. Leadership takes many different forms, but what they all have in common is the kindness and conviction it takes to step into that role. This is what enabled us to spread that same sense of community within our grade throughout the school. It's something I've been delighted to see this past year through the friendships made between grade levels, the friendly inter-house rivalries, and the support for each other on our 2023 grads account on Instagram. Just like how each Kairos retreat is unique, there's only ever going to be one Boston College High School class of 2023 here today on May 20th, 2023 in history. There's only going to be one BC High class of 2023 that's shared all the moments over the past 4 years that I asked you all to think about. That's something incredibly special. So, to the class of 2023, the people I've had the pleasure of growing up with these past few years, thank you for those unique moments. My hope is that you carry them with you as you leave this place. They're what make BC High so much more than just a school. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denzel. You can see why the faculty chose him to be our speaker today. I now ask the Reverend John Predmore, S.J. of the BC High Jesuit community to send our graduates forward with a benediction. Please stand.
This is proof we are a people of the reign of God. My dear graduates of 2023, we have prayed a lot together over the years. Thank you for walking with us, and we hope that you leave us with the same affection that we have for you. And as we have prayed together, let us take this one final moment in prayer. And so, parents, friends, siblings, I ask you to simply put your hands over your hearts as we pray for our graduates. Good and gracious God, bless the good work you have begun in these holy and righteous men, assisting them to persevere with courage, energy, and zeal for the sake of your work. Grace them with prudential discernment to be faithful to their commitments, and enable them to stretch and reach for your greater glory. Keep their dreams and visions fresh so that they see no limits, no frontiers, no boundaries to the holy desires you have placed in them. Help them to remember the joys of their youth as they resourcefully confront the complex challenges of today's and tomorrow's world. Fill them with compassion as they walk forward through the inspiration of St. Ignatius and his companions to plant dreams, to draw forth prophecies and visions, to allow hope to flourish, inspire trust, bind up wounds, weave together relationships, awaken a dawn of hope, learn from one another, and create a bright resourcefulness that will enlighten minds, warm hearts, and give strength to our hands. This is, O God, your contemplative church in action. So go forth, my friends, and set this world ablaze. And loving God, we ask you to bless our graduates, their family and friends, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you so much for attending today's ceremony and for joining us to collectively celebrate the class of 2023. Boys, you may think you have escaped us, but we ask you to come back at least one last time to return your tuxedos to McNeese on Monday between 9 and 1. Above all, we ask that you remember that you are loved as you go forth to bring your good into the world. This, the 159th commencement of Boston College High School, is now concluded. God bless and thank you all.